Oh, you didn't know? Your ass better call somebody!
The energy revealed. Brooklyn to Queens, reppin' both hoods. Rob and CP, keep it fire, misunderstood. Cheer 'em all loud, let the anthem flow. Mets fans unite at the pregame show. From city sand lights to the skyline greens, it's the heartbeat of Queens, the craziest dreams. Rob hype on the mic, CP's the fire spark. Together they ignite, voices like the park fans drift in jerseys. Legacy bold, the Metropolitan story forever told. Turnstile spinning, the crowd floods the gates. This is family, no time for debates. Crack of the Batman, the roar never fades. Queens in the blood, it's how champions are made. Cheer 'em all loud, let the anthem flow. Mets fans unite at the pregame show. From city stand lights to the skyline greens, it's the heartbeat of Queens, the craziest dreams. 7-line swagger, vibes electric and wild. Mets legacy golden since I was a child. Orange crushed skies, let the battle ignite. Ride for the home team till the last fight.
What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to the amazing Mets pregame show right here on the channel and on X. And after the MLB trade deadline has passed, the New York Mets roster is set, and they got their guys that they felt like are going to help this team for the next 53 games of the season and hopefully a run in the playoffs. How is everybody doing, guys? Welcome as the New York Mets return home after they get swept by the San Diego Padres in their 3-3 road trip to the West Coast, and now face the team they swept and are facing the Giants again. And obviously Jose Butto was a part of this trade between the two teams. And now Butto is on the other side of the dugout. So very interesting situation there. But it was an emotional type of trade deadline week. Yesterday was even a little bit weirder, considering the fact that I think most people didn't think they were going to get 3 bullpen arms during this deadline, and they did. They were able to get their center fielder at like the last hour of the deadline, but they did not get their starting pitcher that they clearly were looking for. They were out there. They were searching. They were in on Merrill Kelly. They were in on other guys. A lot of guys didn't get traded. So the prices were extremely high. Those teams were not budging off of prices. The only team that probably budged a little bit was the Diamondbacks from Merrill Kelly. And even that took 315 top prospects. So there is no way that teams were paying the prices that were asked for the Alcantaras, the Cabreras, the Zach Gallen, for that matter. And it just shows you, even Mitch Keller, that everybody thought was a goner. So it's crazy that all those starting pitchers that were on the market, most of them didn't leave. And it is what it is, right? You can't do anything about that. Stearns and other teams, it's not just Stearns, but other teams that needed starters did not want to pay that price, and they stood fast and they did not do it. In my opinion, besides the Padres with like Mason Miller, they were the ones that like really went crazy, giving up tons of top 100 prospects in their system. Like they got rid of basically everybody. So they're going for it. Clearly, the Padres their bullpen got even better. Their team got even better. The Mets, I believe, got better. You look at the lineup today, you're like, wow, it looked like the Mets didn't make no trades. That's the way it feels, the way the lineup is looking today. And we'll get into the lineup in a little bit. But I don't know how many teams did everything they needed to do. Like besides the Padres, just look at the New York teams, right? Both were expected to get bullpen help. That was kind of like, if you don't do that, then, you're not doing your job. But both teams needed a starting pitcher, and they both didn't get it. And again, Am I upset about that? I'm not going to say upset. I'm kind of a little disappointed, but overall, I give this trade deadline a B plus for the New York Mets. I think that's a fair grade. And I said that if they got all 4 of their needs, it's an A plus, in my opinion. But they didn't get the starter. And now you're relying on this rotation that has been a problem all year with length. And now they're possibly talking about bringing up one of the young kids, which, again, is fine. But you can't have restrictions on that young kid coming up at some point this year. Like, we got 53 games to go here. This is not, this isn't May where we have a couple of months here. We have 2 months and 53 games. There is no, figuring things out. You got to do it now. Like, bring whoever it is, McLean, Sproat, Tong, bring them up in their next start. Whenever that may be, it should be soon. Like, bring them up, let them pitch, and don't have any restrictions. Let the kid pitch. If you're going to have restrictions, the entire rotation feel like it's on restrictions limit, either on innings or pitch count. It's very hard to win that way. You might get into the playoffs with that, but when it comes time, to the nitty-gritty and into the playoff, guys, guess what? When you need those guys to go deeper into games and have higher pitch counts, well, when you baby them the whole season, why do we just assume that they can just do it at a drop of a dime? That's the concerning part with that, unfortunately. Yeah, Strike, you don't need restrictions with these kids. These kids get hurt with all these stupid restrictions all across baseball, not just the Mets, all across baseball. If I would agree with you, if the restrictions actually made them not get hurt, then fine. Because these, when these guys get hurt, it's shoulder, it's elbow. So it's not like they are, they're staying healthy. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just not the case. Like, I'm sorry, Strike, but Matt Harvey was protected since 2013. He was in the league 2 years in 2015 at that point, and they were still having problems with restrictions. It's stupid. The fact that the New York Mets and every other team in baseball are putting all these restrictions on is stupid, because when they bring them to the big leagues and then, our bullpen's tired, we need somebody to go deep. And if it's not the bullpen, you're in big games and you can't take these guys out in the 4th inning. Like, it doesn't work. I don't care who's in the bullpen. If you're going to play this restrictions nonsense for the next 2 months with multiple guys in your rotation, I don't care if you got Helsley. I don't care if you got Rogers. I don't care if you got Soto. I don't care if you got one of the better bullpens in baseball. You're going to overuse these guys, and then when it matters the most, you're gonna need even more from these guys. Like, the restrictions don't help. I think we all understand that. How do the restrictions help when these guys constantly still get hurt? These guys constantly, when they say, "Hey, we need you to do 100 pitches and 7 innings," it's like, oh my God, their arm's gonna fall off. Like, it's got to stop. It's really got to stop. So the restrictions are crazy. Yeah, but Strike, it's not even about colleges, because we're not even talking about just colleges. We're talking about, the kids internationally as well, especially in the Dominican Republic and the Latin American countries. Same thing. Like, it's not like these guys did not pitch 40 years ago in college and throw their arms off. These guys used to never get taken out of games. When I was in high school and college, my pitchers never came out of games. They were throwing until the last second of the game. It was rare you took out your pitchers. So it's not about that. It's the fact of the matter is that they baby them too much, and then when they need them the most, a lot of them don't, make the call. They don't step up, because when you restrict them, let's say the 100 innings and whatever pitch count you've been doing in the minors, then you got to tell them to throw 10 to 15 more pitches or 20 more pitches, and either their body falls apart or they're not good because they haven't done that, and they get worn out. Yeah, but Shaq, it's not just about the internet, right? All the technology, all the medical, the medicines, the medicals, all the great doctors that they deal with, and all the trainers and all that stuff. Yet they get hurt at an alarming rate. I'm sorry, it's just a fact. It's just the dumbest thing. And restrictions don't help your team. I'm sorry to say. When you come up to the majors, you should not have restrictions. Having Kodai Senga have restrictions is the Mets' fault. It's not Kodai Senga's fault. When he came to Japan, I understand the first year or even the first half of the season, you're gonna use the restrictions because he can acclimate into Major League Baseball. But after that, you need to put him into the major league way of doing things. He's still on his pitching every 6th day. He doesn't pitch good enough to warrant that, and he doesn't give you length as it is. So it's dumb. Well, restrictions make sense for injuries, no, but they're around baseball. Too many teams are acting like restrictions have protected these pitchers, and it's not. Look at the facts. Well, Strike, I agree with you with spin rate and all that stuff. But again, restriction, even if it's a combination of both, the fact of the matter is restrictions are dumb. They don't work. How about this? How about don't put no restrictions? Let these guys, I'm not saying to throw 140 pitches here. If you can't throw 100 pitches on a consistent basis, maybe you shouldn't be a pitcher. Like, I just don't understand that. Like, I've said this for a while. Major League Baseball, it's like they're like setting it up. Like, it's like a whole different, like all the MLB owners got together and say, and a little bit of coercion and a little bit of, backdoor talk and say, listen, we don't want to pay all these starting pitchers. Like, mediocre starting pitchers were getting like top dollar, getting long-term deals. Teams don't want to do that. Look at the amount of long-term deals for pitchers that has growingly slowed down over the last 5-6 years, where less and less guys are getting long-term deals. I truly believe the teams, this is not about analytics, okay? They like, let's get a big bullpen arm and let's not worry about our rotation. Yet we know bullpens every year are fickle. You can have the best bullpen in 2025 and in 2026 have the same names and be mediocre, if not bad. So that is the problem. The major issue is teams don't want to pay starters anymore. So they rather go the cheaper route on lesser pitchers in the bullpen, or even if they have good pitchers, they rather use cheaper guys in the bullpen, even if they're really good or not really good, doesn't matter. At the end of the day, I think it's all about the money. They don't want to pay these starters long-term deals and a lot of money. So it's all about collusion. That's exactly what it is. Like, there is no reason why you can't have starters go 6 innings on a regular basis. It's all about getting these guys the least amount of money possible started. That's why they have all these analytics. They don't have analytics to better the team. Okay, let's be honest about that. They use it besides like defensive, positioning and stuff like that. Everything analytical is to try to save the team's money. That's exactly what it is. And it is gonna pour in here. Woo. Yeah, Truman, I don't know. But again, when it comes to Cashman and this whole situation, it is just that he hypes up his prospects. Like, I guarantee you, when he's talking to these other GMs, and even like every team has a list of guys from other teams when they're talking about trades and pinpointing certain players, they're looking at guys and they're ranking these guys. They understand that. But Cashman is a genius with that. Like, they're like 20th in baseball in like rankings for in the farm system. Cashman does wonders. Like, he'll talk up guys during an interview in the middle of May. Like that's what he does. Like, in the middle of May, if things aren't going right with his big club, people will start asking about the minor leaguers, and it'll be like, he's looking really good right now. And people are like, who the hell is this guy? Look at Schittler. Like, there, half the fan base of the New York Yankees, maybe more, had no idea who that kid was. Right? So I guarantee you, next year during this off season, if Cashman is able to get something big in return to help the Yankees, Schitler would be on the list. Schitler would be on the list in that trade because he's hyping him up right now. They're putting him in. He's got a live arm, and right away, right, everybody starts to talk about him. No matter if he's good or not, it doesn't matter. He throws 100 miles an hour and he's young and he's under control. So if they can get somebody better, he'll be in the deal. Cashman, throughout the spring training, throughout the season, randomly brings up names and starts talking about them, right? They're talking about shortstop. They're talking about everybody. And he hypes them up. So when the trade deadline comes around, just because the team that he might be negotiating with has rankings of players that are probably not in the top 100, yet Cashman is probably a great person to have you get convinced of their players. So that's why when Yankee fans talk about Brian Cashman, and they want to fire him, and Yankee fans still got signs of fire Brian Cashman, they're idiots because there is a lot worse you can do. That's why when people talk about Brian Cashman, I never say anything bad about him because that guy's a fucking genius. He can sell you a pile of shit and tell you it's gold. Like, he can do that. And again, does it always relate to championships? No. It's much harder now to win championships than it ever has been. Right? There's wild card round now, right? There's an extra round, right? Yeah, more teams get in, but if you get in as a wild card, you got to go an extra round. Even if you're a third division winner, you got to play a wild card round. It's not easy anymore. And that's what everybody has to understand as well. It's not easy to go through all those rounds. So it's unnecessary. Well, if I'm cursing, I'm sorry. All right. This is an adult channel. Right? I'm sorry. This isn't, a kid's channel. So I apologize. But yeah, strike, exactly. Like, I don't believe in GMs saying that any guy's untouchable. If you go into a trade deadline having too many guys untouchable, you're going to have a problem. Like, look, the Mets and the Yankees did basically the same thing, right? They got a couple of, like, the Yankees needed the bat, they got McMahon. The Mets needed the bat in center field, they got, the Yankees needed the bat in third baseman, they got McMahon. The Mets needed the bat in center field, they got Mullins. And they both got 3 relievers, right? And not one of them gave up anything higher than a top 8 prospect. Now, you could say, oh, that's genius, but both teams didn't get a starting pitcher where they don't trust. A lot of people don't trust Rodon. Luis Gil's just about to come back. You don't know if he's going to remain healthy and pitch well. So they don't really have anything after the number 3. And even that's a little sketchy. So that's where I come into the situation where, great, we have all these guys. Well, you better fucking use them if you're not going to trade them. And I've said that before, right? If Stern says, well, he was kind of like half-assing it when it comes to talking about these pitching prospects in our system, saying, well, yeah, we'll look into it, talking about Paul Blackburn. Like, really? This is what we're going to talk about? This is who we want to see in our rotation? Yeah, I don't want Stroman. Please, I don't want Stroman. I don't want Stroman. Truman, I'm giving it a B+. I'm giving the trade deadline a B+. I think the Cedric Mullins move got me to a B+. I think the 3 relievers were a B. I think it was very good. You got multiple closers in that trade deadline that can be set up men, that can close at any time, which is important as well. Because there was nobody you trusted if Diaz wasn't available that day. That's the problem. Yeah, Jimmy, I agree. Bring up Sprout. Hey, bring up McLean. Bring up Tong. I don't care which one. Pick one, please. But bring them up and let them pitch. They're so. I still believe David Stern. David Stern's didn't make a blockbuster here, guys. David Stern was still shy in giving any of his top prospects. He was not trading those guys for whatever. But he traded a bunch of, 8 and lower prospects for a lot of, all rentals. So that's the other thing. If you're going to go for all rentals, then why stop there and not get a starting pitcher? Like, that makes no sense. So I just don't know. Well, and let's talk about the lineup since we do have a game today in about 45 minutes. right? No Mauricio, no Mullins, right? Mauricio isn't great right-handed. Cedric Mullins, again, the Mets are playing matchups here, guys, right? Even though Tyrone Taylor can hit the broadside of a barn, they go by matchups. Cedric Mullins should be in the lineup today. I'm sorry. Like, you're home. It's the first game after the deadline. You just got swept by the Padres. You just traded for Cedric Mullins. Put him in the lineup. What are we so afraid of here? This isn't the lineup we should have coming out of the trade deadline. Like, what is this crap? Taylor's in the game now. I know Terrence is in the game, but again, Alvarez did get hit in the temple the other day, so maybe he's having a little bit of issues with like maybe headaches, or they're just making sure he's okay. Because again, he's a catcher; he's going to take blows to the head, so you want to make sure he's okay. You don't need him to get concussed. Like, we need him the rest of the year. And Vientos is playing third base. Like, you got David Peterson, who is a double play machine. He will just get ground balls like crazy. Yet, can anybody tell me that the third baseman should be Vientos today? Is that the defense you want at third base today? Like, I just don't get it. Yeah, strike. That's what he's even. Yeah, that's exactly what he is. That's what I'm saying. Like, put Mullins out there. What's the worst that can happen? He is not going to be worse than Tyrone Taylor. Even on his worst day, he's not worse. He's not worse as Tyrone Taylor. It's the matchups that never make sense to me. The matchups only make sense if you have somebody similar as like as an asset that is your starter. If somebody's close and not a huge gap, then I don't understand matchups. Matchups make no sense because you're putting in a worse guy because they're right-handed. It's dumb. It's so dumb. Same thing that goes for Vientos at third base. This is what we're doing with one of our best ground ball pitchers in David Peterson. You're going to put Vientos at third base. And yeah, Acuna did get optioned. So, again, I'm not surprised. Like, Stearns is afraid to trade these guys on the roster. I told you it doesn't work. It's stupid. So Acuna gets sent down. So now you only got 3 to deal with, which all of them can be in a lineup. But again, right? McNeil's in the lineup at second. Now you do have a center fielder, even though he's not playing today. But this is the issue that I concern myself with. Like, now they're trusting Vientos when they didn't want to play him at third at all, and they were DHing him for the last week. And Mauricio was getting all the playing time at third base. Now after the deadline, all of a sudden, Vientos is just getting thrown in there now. Like, it's just, I just don't know. It's weird. It's stupid. Like, we're playing matchups right out of the trade deadline. You just got your center fielder. Put him in the damn lineup. What are we so afraid of? Like, we are so afraid of not putting in matchups. Like, it's going to make a difference when our lefties are hitting better against left-handers than our righties. Like, put in Cedric Mullins. I know his numbers aren't great against lefties, but it's his first game at Citi Field. Put his ass out there. Like, what are we doing here? Like, you made an effort to get him. If he's not that important, then why get him? That's what I don't understand. Like, if you were clamoring for a center fielder for weeks, constantly in Luis Robert, and, as of late, being in on Mullins, go put them out there. You got him for a reason. Yeah, Dolo, of course he's going to put him in the game later when a righty comes in. But we could be losing 6-0 by then. Like, I just don't like worrying about the later innings when nobody knows what's happening in those later innings. Somebody could be blown out. Like, if the Mets are winning 6-0, right, nobody's going to care about Mullins not being in the lineup. But if you're losing 6-0, and I guarantee the first words out of everybody's mouth, why ain't Mauricio playing? Why ain't Beatty playing? Why ain't Mullins playing? It's just, come on. It's like, so it's just like, I just don't understand. I think it's so stupid. You just made a trade for the center fielder because you don't have a center fielder. And the center fielder you put here today is the reason why you got a center fielder for better offense. Like, so I don't know. what are we going to do? It doesn't matter what city Mullins traveled from. Like, he got traded at what, like 5 o'clock last night? The game was tonight. It's a 24-hour difference. And even if he was on the West Coast, it's a 6-7 hour trip. And he should be early in the morning. Like, these guys travel all the time. Like, get your ass to the field and play. I find it hard to believe that Mullins didn't want to be in the lineup today. This is all about matchups. Yeah, you got to center fielder because Taylor sucks and got exposed as the starter. But this is the lineup we're dealing with today. And of course, Cedric Mullins is going to be in the lineup. Ronnie Mauricio is going to come up. Probably even Bet Brady. Probably pinch hit for Vientos or pinch hit for another, Terrens or at some spot today. like that's what's going to happen. But that's fine. But you're not putting your best lineup out there out of the trade deadline. It doesn't make sense. You just got swept. Like again, Terrens, it's not a big deal because we know what Alvarez got hit in the head in the last series. So they're probably being careful with him. Maybe he had a couple of symptoms that they didn't like and didn't want him to play. So I understand Terrens because you got to keep Alvarez healthy as best as possible. So the Taylor thing doesn't make no sense. Like, so it is what it is. The fact that you're doing matchups on the center fielder you got because your center fielder sucked offensively and you don't have him in the lineup the day the next day when you got him. They didn't make this trade in the, it's not like they had a day game. If they had a day game, maybe I understand that. But, I think didn't the Orioles face Toronto or something like that and they were in Baltimore? Like, they're right there. It's a few hours. Dolo, I'm not going to say Mendoza's Aaron Boone 2.0. Like, that's not fair. Because in his rookie season, he got this team that nobody believed in to game 6 of the NLCS. So, like, he did that just as many, he did that in his first year. And Aaron Boone just got to the World Series in how many years as a manager and constantly can't get out of the ALCS. So, I'm not saying Mendoza's 2.0. I just think the matchups, and even the Yankees don't do a lot of matchups like that. They put their lineup out there. Now, they continue to play guys that could constantly suck, and no matter how many errors they make or how many bad at-bats they play, they keep them in a lineup. Mendoza doesn't do that. If you're not hitting, you're out. Except when there's matchups. So it's just crazy to me. Yeah, Strike, I understand Robbie Ray is nasty, but again, if this was a playoff game, do you really think Tyrone Taylor would be playing today over Mullins? No. Right? It wouldn't be the case. You think Vientos would be playing third base in a playoff game if Robbie Ray was pitching? No. It would be Mauricio because it's a better defense. Like, that's the thing. If today started the playoffs and Robbie Ray was pitching, this lineup wouldn't be the lineup. It would be your best lineup. This is not your best lineup, nor your best defensive lineup. So, again, this is the lineup. I know Robbie Ray got some good stuff, but the Mets did beat him up. And we'll see if they can continue that. They're home now. Let's get it going. I'm not sure if it's raining in New York. It's raining where I'm at, or it's starting to rain because the wind's blowing like crazy. So I don't know if this is like an East Coast type of thing, if it's raining over there right now and up north. But it is ready to come down south. So we'll see what happens, guys. We'll see if the New York Mets can get back on their winning ways. Obviously, it's basically neck and neck with the Phillies right now with 53 games left to go. We're a couple of games away from being one of the best two teams in the National League. So again, I think it's imperative this Mets team gets the bye. If they don't get the bye, again, we make the playoffs, so you're going to get excited. But I think this team, especially this rotation, needs that 3-day bye, in my opinion. I think they need that 3-day bye. And Alberto, thank you. that is clearing up. So that's a good sign. Oh, great. Let's get Stroman another fourth or fifth starter. Like the Mets don't have enough of those. I don't want to see Stroman here. It doesn't make sense. I mean, no one's starting to do it because, why not? Because what's the difference? I mean, he's still going to, throw Paul Blackburn out there at some point. So no rain in New York. That's a good sign. So, I mean, game's going to go on as scheduled. But, and that's the thing. You're picking up Stroman because you didn't do what you're supposed to do at the deadline. So there you go. So you're already getting garbage to replace garbage. Great. That's what we need. We need more garbage on this team in the back end of the rotation. So you're waiting for the tirade towards the Yankees. He's better than the scrubs we got. Yeah, but he's not that much better. I mean, the Yankees needed pitching. They still need pitching. They need people in their rotation. And Stroman just throw like 6 good innings or 5 good innings for them his last start? Like, this was clearly roster manipulation. So, like, he's pitched fine, but I just don't need we need another fourth. Like, if Stroman's going into this rotation, you're not bringing up any of the kids. Because where are you putting them? Yeah, the Yankee slop was pretty good when we got Terrence, but we saw what happens when he starts, right? He's a backup catcher. So we'll see. We will see. And I hope one of these kids come up. Again, everybody got their favorite. Some people say McLean. Some people say Sproat. Some people even say Tong. I think Tong is probably more of the long shot. It's probably going to be Sproat and McLean, and they both pitch extremely well. They're both in AAA, so you would just assume those guys are going to get the nod first, at least one of them. Sproat over his last 6 starts has been outstanding. McLean has been good all year. So we'll see. But bring him up. Please. You didn't trade him. Bring him up. We'll see. So the Mets and Giants, game 1 of the series at Citi Field. No rain, according to some people in the chat that are in New York right now. And let's hope the Mets get back in their winning ways. They're on a 3-game losing streak. And, the team that you're facing today, you swept them at their home ballpark. So, and, they did trade a couple of guys. So they're kind of in like a weird flux mode, like where they kind of, like, I would say slightly sold players. Obviously, we got Tyler Rogers, but they slightly, they traded their closer too, as Duvall to the Yankees. So, they traded a lot of their bullpen. So they were kind of in sell mode, but doesn't mean the Mets can't lose to them. Because it's baseball. Anybody can beat anybody. So go out there. You'll have the fans behind you. It's been packed all the time at Citi Field now, no matter what day of the week it is. It is a Friday. The Mets are in black. They're wearing their black jerseys, right? It's going to be a packed house over this next 3 days, over the next homestand, right? Probably going to New York in the middle of August when they're playing the Braves. So I will finally be back at Citi Field since I moved. I've been in New York a couple of times, but both times I've been in New York. One is the winter. The other time the Mets were in the West Coast, actually. So this time in New York, the Mets are there. So we'll be at Citi Field. So that's fun. That's what I'm excited about, because I haven't been back there since the Mets are 0-5 in 2024. So that was interesting, going to 5 games in a row before I moved. And they won the last game of the doubleheader. So that was a good sign. So we will see. But I do hope that the New York Mets do what they need to do to win. It just seems like they've been going through the motions a little bit. And after the 7-game winning streak, which has been nice, they kind of gotten to – I mean, the Padres always beat us. Like, the Padres are a terrible matchup for the Mets. Like, I think if you're looking at it, the Mets are in the Dodger-Padre bracket if the playoffs started today. Like, that is the bracket I don't want to be in. And I'm not even more concerned about the Dodgers. We can't beat the Padres. For some reason, we can't beat the Padres. Like, that team is our kryptonite. So, not saying that you have to avoid them, because, things happen in baseball. Brackets happen. It is what it is. You play who you play. But we just can't beat the Padres. So, maybe it's just playing the Padres and it kind of knocked us off our ass a little bit. But come out today, You're at home, packed house, beat up on the Giants, who were kind of mini sellers, and traded their closer. They got Buto, obviously, but they traded, Rogers. They traded Doval. Let's get it done today. Score some damn runs. It would be nice with 53 games to go where the lineup actually shows what they should have done all year. Let's hope that happens, because that is key to the overall success of this team, and we all know it. The rotation isn't good enough. The bullpen has got extremely better, but what is the point of a bullpen that you got better names and better arms out there if your starters aren't going to go a little bit deeper? Because all you're going to do is you can't wait to get to your better bullpen. And I don't want to see Helsley and Rogers and Soto, pitch the next 47 games out of the next 53. Like, I just don't want to see that, because they'll be done in the playoffs. But we'll see, right? They're going to have to start pushing these guys. You're in a division race right now, right? The National League is very stacked right now, where, a 6-7 game losing streak can knock you into the second and third wild card very quickly. So you got to be careful. Not saying that the Mets are going to have another 6-7 game losing streak, but they're already on a 3-game losing streak. So you got to be careful here. So ain't a lot of games to recover. So get it done. The offense needs to step up over these next 53 games. We'll see what we're going to get out of this rotation. Maybe we'll get the reinforcement of McLean or Sproat and beat the teams. Let's go, right? Roster is the roster now. It's mostly set, except for internal options. Get it done. No more excuses. Lindor and Alonso have the worst batting average in baseball over the last month. They got to step up. Nemo has been okay. Soto has been Lindor and Alonso's average has been terrible. They've been basically zeros. They got to step it up. This team goes when the lineup goes. The lineup has not had sustained success all year. Sometimes during a year, your offense will carry you for 2 weeks when your pitching has slowed down. They've never done that over a long period of time. They've done it for maybe a series, and then they went back to their old ways again. There is no more excuses here. Alonso's got to be better. Lindor, Soto, Nimmo, all of them got to be better. And the reinforcements in Cedric Mullins, he's got to help. Vientos has got to wake the hell up and start hitting for power. Taylor's in the lineup, whatever. When Alvarez comes back, once he's healthy, and hopefully his head is okay, let's go. Let's see the power from him. Everybody's got to step up here. If it's not going to happen, we're going to be in for a rude awakening where we had a solid deadline and ultimately the offense failed. And to be quite honest here, and Dolo, of course the issues are still there. That's why you're supposed to address them at the deadline, right? That's why when you go into spring training and the offseason is over and you still have minor problems in your rotation because you didn't want to spend money, you end up forcing yourself to get that at the deadline. And unfortunately for Stearns, we weren't supposed to be talking about a bat at the deadline because this lineup was supposed to be stacked. But because Vientos sucked and Alvarez sucked and Soto sucked for the first 2 months and Lindor is starting to suck, it's been a combination. Now you needed the bat. That's why when you start the season with possibility of knowing that you're going to need a rotation arm and possible multiple bullpen arms, you leave yourself very exposed for something else to happen where you need something else at the deadline. That's exactly what happened with the Mets. And Dolo, I'm not even saying it's enough. Mullins shouldn't be the difference maker. Mullins should help. But Mullins could have a great 2 months. Great 2 months. I mean, he can be outstanding. If Lindor doesn't hit, if Alonso doesn't hit, if Nimmo doesn't hit, if Soto doesn't hit, together, this team is not winning. That's the point. That's the problem. Like, that has been the problem. Right? I always thought this rotation was weak. But I think the reason why David Stearns didn't get a starter was because the bats haven't done enough. And now, because the bats didn't have enough, they had to be focused on a center fielder and a bat. That's where I think Stearns messed up. And it wasn't all his fault because the lineup didn't do the job. But if we didn't need a center fielder and everybody was playing well, because again, if Tyrone Taylor was your center fielder and everybody else was hitting, nobody would care about Tyrone Taylor batting 7th, 8th, or 9th. Not hitting. Because you're not going to have all-stars at every level, every position. If your guys are hitting, if you're scoring 5.5 to 6 runs per game, you'd be fine. But when you're scoring 3.5 runs per game, that's the problem. Like all those prospects and all those minor leaguers that you traded, you might have packaged more of them to get a starter. Like that's the problem. That's why when I tell you, when you come out of the offseason and you still have question marks, you can't always get them at the deadline. I hate when people say that. Like if you go get starters and you do what you got to do with your lineup and say, all right, bullpen is the easiest things to get at the deadline. It's always has been that way. Starters are a dime a dozen. They're very expensive. And even hitters, when there's not many of them available, they're going to be somewhat expensive, depending on the player. You leave yourself exposed. The Yankees did the same exact thing. The Yankees went into spring training, went into the season with question marks, too many. And when the question marks on July 31st still, and you happen to need something else you didn't think you were going to need, now you have to get more. And now you have to be creative. And now you might have to pick one over the other because it's too expensive. Like nobody talks about it. Everybody says, oh, let's get it at the deadline. Like, you just snap your fingers and you can get anybody you want. It costs to get. That's the problem. Like if this deadline was not an expensive deadline around baseball, then it would have been great. But you can't predict how the cost is going to be for these guys. That's the problem. When people talk about the deadline in April, when all you had to do was spend money and make trades in the offseason, the deadline is very hit or miss. And you can't always rely on the deadline to get every one of your needs. And again, if something arises that you didn't expect, and now you need that at the deadline, that's an extra question mark you have to fill. That's an extra hole you have to fill. And he didn't fill the rest of the hole, the starting pitching hole. And if you don't think the starting pitching is a problem, you're nuts. And I still don't think one of these guys, because I don't think both McLean and Sproat are coming up. I think one of them is going to get a chance. And if that one fails, the next one's going to get a chance. But are these guys really going to be enough? Like, we're so steadfast on bringing one of these kids up that people are going to expect them to be great because of what they're doing in the minors. Like, these guys are not going to be the saviors. I'm telling you that right now. Not this year. Maybe if that's the case, great. But we're putting way too much hope in those guys. Way too much hope in those guys. Like, I don't care about minor league numbers. Have you seen Beatty's minor league numbers? Mauricio's numbers? Acuna's numbers? Alvarez's numbers in the minors? Mean shit. Doesn't mean nothing to me. Because if they come up here and become a 5-inning pitcher and give up a couple of runs a game, it isn't what they were doing in the minors. When they're constantly throwing 6, 7 innings, 2 or 3 hits, no runs constantly, and then they come up and they throw 2 innings less, give up a couple of more runs, and we're going to glorify it like it's a good thing. No, David, here's the problem. Negativity, it comes off as negative, but it also comes off as reality. People don't want to hear reality. People like to live in their dream world and act like it's all sunshine and rainbows, and then when the problems continue, it's the same people who are going to complain. Yeah, of course, Frank. Of course, they're going to try their best. I never said these guys are not going to try their best. But the problem why people are saying, oh, bring up the kids, that's great, is because they're doing what they're doing numbers-wise in the minors. Because if they weren't pitching well in the minors, nobody would be talking about them. But because their minor league numbers are good, okay, let's bring them up. And now too many people, too many fans are going to expect them to do what they did in the minors. And if they do it, great. It's worked. Development in the system worked. But how many times have this team brought up prospects and they've not even been close to the numbers that they put in the minors? True enough, I gave credit to Stearns, but he ultimately didn't get something that I complained about all year. Starting pitching. I'm sorry, guys. My power went out. Well, not the power, but the internet went out because I told you the weather is going crazy right now. So the power did go out. I do apologize. So I'm just going to end the stream right now as we're 47 minutes in. Enjoy the game, guys. Let's go Mets, and let's win a bowl game and get back on our winning ways, guys, and snap this 3-game loser strike. With that said, have a good night, guys. Let's go Mets. And I'll see you tomorrow because there will be no post game tonight, guys. So let's go Mets, guys. Let's win that bowl game. Have a good day, guys.